Painted Haint presents a bomb-ass pirate story. An inn and watering hole in a seaside town. On the outside, the building appears quaint with its weather-beaten dark gray wood and teal shutters. It appears as though it belongs to someone's grandparents, if not for the wooden carved sign in the shape of a siren whose eyes are looking downward as though she is wishing or hoping for something. This siren hangs from a stately live oak dripping with Spanish moss at the end of the drive. This is the Sighing Siren Inn. The siren, as it was called colloquially, had never felt so cold and drafty as it did today. Even with all the fireplaces blazing in the place, the Chevalier family could not shake the chill. It was bone deeper, or deeper than that. One would even say soul deep. The youngest of the Chevalier children, Esquiel, shivered a little as she heard the door to the sick room shut somewhere above her. The sick room, she thought bitterly. Her father was not sick. Fighting tooth and nail in a sea battle was not sick. Mentally, she followed the footsteps from above as they descended the stairs. These belonged to her brother. The closest to her in age, Darian, appeared on the stairs. Their eyes met for a moment, and at first, she thought he was going to say the words she dreaded. "He's not dead," Darian replied, seeming to read her mind. "But his wounds are grave." Essie nodded, burying a burgeoning shiver. "And there's nothing I can do?" "No," he admitted, sitting next to her. She laid her head on his shoulder. His presence soothed her as she stared into the flames of the fireplace. "He has been reflecting a lot on his life, though." "That's a sign of defeat," Esquiel argued. "It's not. It's what we all do when we think this might be the end," Darian explained. "But I said he's not dead," Darian pointed out. Esquiel lifted her head. Just then, light yet quick footsteps alighted across the floor above them. These belonged to her mother, Marie. She came down the stairs in one of her old house dresses and an apron tied at the waist. Esquiel spotted rust-red blood smears on the apron's white surface. Her mother rolled her shoulders back at the sight of them. "Darian, go home to your wife and little ones. You need rest, and you've been here all day." Darian obliged and got up to leave, first hugging his sister, then his mother. Now Marie turned her attention to Esquiel. "Your father has been talking," Marie said, taking the apron off. "He wants his story told." "He talks as though he's dying," Esquiel groaned. "No, it's not that. Your grandfather's life was chronicled, and so shall his. He says he does not want to be a legend, but wants to be legendary." Marie went into the room off the bar, then returned with a bag. "Here, this is a notebook and paper. He wants you to write his story down." "I'm no writer," Esquiel said. "He said you'd say that. And to that he said, read your research papers on marine life, and they didn't bore him, so, he trusts you to write his story down." Esquiel gave a small smile at that. She never figured her father was interested in her work. She figured he was mostly interested in his work of pirating. "I'll be getting some food ready while you talk with your father. So go on and go upstairs and start writing." Esquiel ascended the small set of stairs to the room where her father lay. He was sitting up in bed, staring out the window, his middle and left leg bandaged up. "Father," she ventured. "I've been so bored laying in this bed," he said with a smile. "You'd think I'd be used to this sort of thing." "Hence the story you'd like me to write?" Esquiel asked with a twin smile. "So this is all due to boredom?" "Yes," he replied. "So where do you want to start?" He paused for a moment, staring out at the live oak shaded cobblestone street. Then he spoke. Okay. Eden Chevalier was not my biological mother. The woman was called Madiera Jones. She was hanged after I was born for the crime of piracy, which in turn left me an orphan. At that, Eskiel began to scribble. Setting: a dreamy, quaint seashell peach-colored house with light pink hurricane shutters border the windows. It is comfortably nestled in a bevy of dwarf sugar palms, birds of paradise, and gardenias dotted the front yard. A white picket fence is the cherry on top of this tropical paradise. Through one of the windows of the house, we see a woman, dark-skinned and petite. She is dressed in an off-shoulder yellow puff-sleeve dress and a white apron. Her hair is held back in a light gray snood. She bends to scoop the already sitting baby from the crib. He gives her a toothless grin as Eden says, "Hi, little man. Did you sleep well?" "I know you did." In response, the baby begins to coo and gurgle to her as she sweeps him from the room and takes him down the hall to the kitchen. She sits him in his high chair, then goes to make him breakfast. Today he will be trying mango. She glances back at the gurgling infant and gives him a warm smile. 7 months ago, this little man had come into her life, a little bundle of energy. She sets him mashing up the mango, humming a song all the while, and enjoying the early morning glow in the kitchen. Eskiel stopped as her father stopped speaking. "Father?" He was looking out the window, reflecting again. Eskiel sat the pencil down softly. She knew her grandfather was a hard subject for her father. After a few minutes, thick with silence, Etienne began to speak. "It was my 16th birthday," he began slowly. The cave entrance. Tan pink sand creates the cave floor, along with a few boulders large enough to sit on. Graffiti covers some of the walls, likely created by teenagers or drunken sailors, or both. A girl of 13, dressed in a sailor-collared ankle-length dress, stands at the cave entrance with a spyglass to her eye. She lowers the glass and scribbles in a notebook at her side. "This is a really nice glass," she called back into the cave. "You can have it," Etienne replied, reclining on a blanketed boulder. The girl sighed and turned to him. "Daddy gives you a nice gift and you just throw it away." "I'm not throwing it away. I'm giving it to you." The girl trudged into the cave and sat next to her brother. "Why don't you go home? You're not going to want to see me drunk off my ass," he asked. "Yeah, but then how will you get home without me? Because, you'll be so drunk," she retorted, handing the spyglass to him. He examined it. "I've thought, instead of going to the academy, I should become a farmer." At that, Talasia rolled her eyes. He'd been contemplating this sort of career for ages now, probably out of spite. "Seawater runs through your veins on account of your," she hesitated, "sperm donor." Etienne gave her an alarmed look. "Am I lying? He's not here. He just left it and he's gone." "Yes, but did you have to put it like that?" he questioned. She shrugged in agreement, then put the spyglass to her eye. Now she trained it on a ship sailing smoothly toward the port. "Check out this one," she gushed. Etienne took the spyglass as Talasia scribbled the descriptions of the ship in her notebook. "She's coming in kind of hot, isn't she?" he ventured. With all those sheets up, I'd imagine it couldn't go any slower," Talasia said. "Let's see if we can get the name of the ship," Etienne replied thoughtfully. "I'll bet it's a merchant ship with some rando name," Talasia added. "Some shipbuilder's wife." "No, it says Sighing Siren." "That's a passenger ship," Talasia announced triumphantly. "Probably a liner. Where do you think it..." Suddenly, Talasia's words were cut off by loud blasts. The two exchanged horrified looks as the cave shook around them. "Let's go," Etienne cried, grabbing his sister's hand. They ran down the beach away from the blast and into the jungle beyond the beach. Thalassia watched, eyes wide, as Etienne produced a pistol. "What the hell are you gonna do with that?" she whispered, as though the town's attackers could hear her. "These are pirates, Tally." "Yeah, I guessed that, by the cannon blast," she replied as though saying, duh. "You think that little pea shooter is gonna do anything to a pirate? Have you got any better ideas?" "No," Thalassia admitted dully. "Wait, so you and Aunt Tally just hid in the jungle?" Esquiel questioned. "Yes," Etienne replied, "until the blast stopped and we were sure things were calm. You see, your Aunt Tally never been in any kind of siege. I had. By the time we emerged from the jungle, though, evening had fallen." Thalassia smacked yet another mosquito as they emerged from the jungle, her legs sort of cramped from sitting. "Mosquitoes are the least of your worries," Etienne said darkly. "What about ticks?" Thalassia questioned. Etienne sighed as Thalassia shook herself all over. From their vantage point, they could see smoke rising from the town. The scent of burnt wood wafted on the air. "Come on, let's go," Etienne said, heading up the road towards the inland area. "We'll go to Auntie's house in Calvados." Thalassia looked at her feet, then back at her brother. "Hurry before those marauders pull up," he snapped, his voice trembling a little. She obeyed and followed him, linking her arm in his as they walked. Around them the jungle rustled. An owl hooted somewhere. A creek ran somewhere in the distance. Thalassia held tighter to her brother as they continued farther inland. "Do you feel that?" she murmured. "Someone is watching us." Etienne heeded his sister's observation, catching sight of something glinting in the relative darkness, followed by an ambush. Once again, Esquiel stopped writing. Etienne had stopped talking again. She knew he was tired by the way he leaned back and closed his eyes. "We can stop if you like," she offered. He nodded. "Yeah, those pain meds are starting to kick in." Esquiel set her pen and paper down, but not before scribbling the name Grandpa Kai and Revenge Share for later. She adjusted the bedclothes around her father, planted a kiss on his cheek, then crept from the room. This is the end of episode 1 of A Bomb-Ass Pirate Story. See you on the next episode where we really get into it with Captain Chevalier and his father, Kai Herdez. See you then. Thanks for listening. Bye.